The Stegosaurus, insanely powerful, and with the addition of the power swing, truly a powerhouse. It has a weight of 6 tons, a bite force of 50, and you can clock it at 26.2 kilometers an hour. It is not as much of a threat, and you can freely choose to hunt it or to leave it alone. But if you do wish to hunt it, what are the things you should know? And how can you approach this fight? Today, we will get into it all. And I'll also show you guys how to grapple this massive herbivore to get an instant win on it. First, however, I want to stress the terrain. It's gonna be the same old song as usual, but like no matter what you do, do not engage this behemoth in jungles. You simply stand no chance. You can pretty much engage it in any other terrain, although keep objects in mind as the Stego can do something extremely nasty, but we will showcase that. Secondly, the attacks a Stego can perform are limited to 5 attacks, with 4 of them being instant death if they hit you with it. Also, as a Solo Raptor, you can kill Stegos, but only up to a certain size. As soon as they exceed 3 to 4 tons, they become near impossible to take down. See, Stegosaurus can regenerate its health fairly quickly, and dealing damage to it has to be done constantly to even make a dent in its massive HP pool. Otherwise it will just heal it back up, and you will essentially be carrying water to the ocean and not really making any difference. So as a Solo Raptor, you either have to constantly hit it while staying locked in, or you will need to be with a group. And a small note, a bad Stego can be soloed, but good Stegos are simply impossible. I can tell you that much firsthand. So we're going to approach this fight in a really realistic manner, and I will consider this a 4-man job at the very least. And even then it will be a fight that can easily drag out and take a long time to complete. So be aware of that. That is the introduction and the stats. Now let's get into some more technical stuff. And I first want to take a look at what the Stegosaurus can do. No enemy after all. First, its attacks. First of all, it can perform a bite. And while this is not a big threat, or does a lot of damage, it is wise to understand that it can bite you to death long before you can bite it to death. And that's all I gotta say about that. And then we have the normal swings, where the Stego uses its alt attack. And this attack has 2 variations, and understanding the difference is crucial here, and that is why I will count them as 2 separate attacks. First of all, we have the fast swing. This occurs when the Stego swings towards its flanks. The tail attacks fairly quick, and the cooldown on this attack is the lowest out of all of the swings. So simply put, this version of its normal swings is the most dangerous to interact with. You might dodge the first one, but given the speed of the attack and the low cooldown, you can get clipped by the second swing if you are not careful. Usually Stegos try to lure you in by throwing the sideways swing and baiting you to attack, and then going for the snipe with a well-placed swing right after. Deadly. Stay cautious. Also, this attack costs 5% stamina, but can be performed when the Stego is empty on stamina as well. And then we have the slow swing. This occurs when the Stego swings towards its front or its back. And this attack is easy to punish. You can get a solid hit in with more than enough time to escape. Just as deadly, however, if it gets you, you are simply dead. This attack also costs 5% stamina and can also be performed if the Stego has no stamina left. The power swing. The Stego can raise its tail and perform a devastating swing. This attack is incredibly dangerous due to the hit scan nature of the attack. If you survive it, it will knock you over, and to make matters worse, the Stegosaurus can perform this attack in rapid succession. And it's safe to say that anything on the receiving end of this spammable attack is going to die. This attack costs 10% stamina to perform per swing. And then we have the home run. While its tail is raised and if the Stego is running, it can perform a home run swing. This attack is the most powerful out of all attacks it can perform, and it will absolutely destroy whatever gets hit by it. Most things just flat out die to it, and if you do not flat out die, you will, as the name suggests, be sent flying. This attack cannot be spammed, but if hit by it, there's a good chance the Stego will follow up with a normal power swing or a normal swing if you are still within its range. This attack costs 15% of its stamina and it is the most expensive, so if you can bait this one out, that's a W. A quick summary for those of you who like to keep track of stamina draining. Normal swings, 5%, power swing, 10%, home run, 15%. So with those attacks and its strengths covered, we can now get into some of its weaknesses. The Stegosaurus has a unique weakness and is currently the only playable with such a weakness in the entire game. When a Stegosaurus receives damage to its head, the damage is multiplied by 300%. Meaning if you hit it with a bite, 65 bite force, you're going to do 195 damage. And if you land an all bite on its head, you will do 225 damage per hit, which can really help shave down some of its HP in the long run. And additionally, if you do manage to latch on with a pounce, as long as the Stegosaurus is moving, it loses precious stamina just from walking. A Stegosaurus without stamina can no longer power swing and becomes extremely approachable for a grapple to occur. But we will get into that. Alright, let's talk strategy. A common strategy is to go for bleed damage, as its HP can regenerate fairly quick, but its blood pool is constantly going down while it is bleeding, and it cannot regenerate this easily. So what you want to do right at the start of the fight is the following, and I'm gonna break this down in 5 steps. Step 1, IQ test. Step 2, applying bleed damage. Step 3, rotating and anchoring. Step 4 is how to deal with camping, and then step 5, patience. I'll cover it step by step. Alright, so step 1 is performing the IQ test. Now you might be wondering, what is the IQ test? It is basically you're checking how good the player is. Is he patient? Does he swing easily? Is he baitable? Etc. Basically what you want to do is you want to keep going for fake attacks at first. Like when you run into a Stego, you see him, the first thing you want to do is fake it, all of it. And then basically if, he swings easily, you go for plan A, and that's just to stamina drain him all the way. If he seems to be very patient and, as we like to say, scary, there's an actual human being in there, then you want to be more careful. And you want to go for plan B. Some options and tricks you can use for plan B I will explain in a bit, but let's first stay with the steps. For step 2, you want to start applying bleed damage. This can be done in 2 ways. You either do a bleed bounce, try to dump all your stamina into it, or you bite him in the head. Bleed damage is tied to how much damage you deal, and since there's a 300% multiplier on the head, you also deal a lot of bleed by biting the head. So, just so you know. And that is pretty straightforward, just apply bleed. Now if you decide to apply it by pouncing, I highly recommend that you use the slot switching to get into the front slot or the back slot. Because if you're on the side slot and he has a steel up and you dismount, the power swing can actually graze you, and for an OMNIRAPTOR that means dying. So try to be on the front or the back. That is gonna make your dismounts a lot easier. And additionally, there's something we call a game of chicken, where the Stego runs to an object while you are pouncing it. And right before the object, he will try to swing in the predicted place that you will dismount. Now if you fall for this and you jump off, he might get you with a swing. If you jump off and he swings mid-air, he might get you with a swing. So be really careful on your dismounts and make sure that you're unpredictable. A little trick that I like to do is to slot switch so that the Stegosaurus responds to movement, does a swing into the air, and then you just dismount safely. Then we get into step number 3, rotating and anchoring. Let me explain what these 2 terms actually mean. Rotating basically means you have just pounced, you've spent all your stamina, you're gonna sit over there in the grass. And then we get the other side of the story, the anchoring. If there's one OMNIRAPTOR left, that OMNIRAPTOR is not going to be using its stamina. So if you are the last person on the Stego, do not pounce it. All you have to do is buy time and prevent the Stegosaurus from sitting down so it cannot regen its stamina. That is like the job of the anchor. Very important. Then we get into step 4, how to deal with camping. And this one is a bit of a doozy. If a Stegosaurus starts camping and he still has his power swing, you have a problem if you're unable to bait it out. If you are able to bait it out, perfect, then just proceed to get it to 0. And then I would bait a few more times to get a few normal swings going to literally flatline his stamina bar. Once you have done that, you're gonna be patient. And if the opportunity arises, pounce it with 4 raptors at the same time. When a Stegosaurus is out of stamina, 4 raptors can grapple it. And instead of doing a damage bounce like you would normally be doing, do a bleed bounce. Everybody grapple for bleed. Then once you get off that, it will be absolutely nuked. At the same time, while it's grappled and you have more than 4 raptors, the last people that are not on the stego, bite the head. Apply that extra bleed. And some people might think like damage bounce is better in this case. No, stay with the bleed all the way. And then finally, step 5, patience. Let the bleed kick in, let the bleed do its work. Do not get reckless at the end and try to do some extra damage or extra bleed. Just let it do its thing. Wait for it. There's no need to risk any casualties at this point. You just wait. I think the best way to show this one is just to load up one of the clips and talk you guys through it on how to deal with a good stego. One that holds his swings, doesn't just throw them all into the wind, and how to still take it down. Alright, for starters, you're gonna need a decently sized pack. This stego is pretty patient. Doesn't swing for no reason, as you can see. You cannot just run up to it and make it swing. It is trying to actually snipe you. That is one way to stamina drain. So that is 2 swings gone with a little technique. But it can also go wrong. So you can make use of that leg hit to like alt bite out of the way as soon as you get in the recovery. But if you mess it up, you die. However, that is still 3 swings gone, which is 30% stamina. And we need to drain a whole lot more. Now another little trick I've got is that I watch the head. See what I did there? But I looked at the head, he turned away from me, meaning that he's aiming away from me, and that gave me time to really latch onto him. And I think he is out of stamina. Now I'll fast forward this. This is not exactly like the example I wanted to show with a really good stego. But this is already like the middle road of stegos. Or I should say average, you know what I mean? You got really bad ones that will swing at a mosquito. But most of them are gonna be a bit like this, where they try to get you. Phoenix got really lucky there, but let me fast forward. Alright. So now he is camping a wall. So that we cannot pounce him anymore, right? At this point, we're gonna be a bit patient, and as soon as he steps a little bit far enough from the wall, we're gonna try and grapple him. So, that is what I meant with the big swing. You can punish it quite hard, but you have to time it right. If you notice you're not timing it right, you simply abort. Oh, I was mid-movement. There's also a lot of people, so I'm trying to give space. But they're not taking the bait, so I will do it myself. Oh yeah, tactile, so that will actually give him stamina back. But every time he does that normal swing, it's gone again, so it's fine. So exchanging with those normal hits is kind of fine. Ooh, too shallow. Ah, no rack. Like, I want to go for the grapple, but he just needs to step away from the wall a bit further. Because you have so many OMNIRAPTORs, you can really confuse him. He has so much to keep track of. Don't underestimate that. It's really hard for the Stego player. You can do it with 4, but a full pack is always better. Ooh. Come on, step away from that wall, mate. There we go. Now we can get him. The rest is a bit slow, sadly. One more. And we got a grapple. And now we're going for a bleed grapple. This is a lot of bleed. And now he has so much bleed in him. Now the patience part where you just wait. Like, he's absolutely gonna bleed out. And a short while later, he actually drops. I looked away, because I wanted to make some distance, but yeah, he fell. He's dead. That's just how it goes. Now, on a more difficult Stego that absolutely doesn't swing, I want you guys to check out another video I've got. I will put the link in the description on how to utilize a blind spot. That is definitely a way to do it. You should definitely give that one a check. Well, you know what? I'll just add the good parts to this video. Now, if you want to see more about the video it's from, I'll still leave the link. Like in the original video, I'm also showing a lot of flaws with the power swing, but we don't need that in a tutorial, do we? We were trying out spots to stand in them to see if it would kill us, yes or no. And we were just experimenting. Oh, that will get you. Swing. Interesting. You could just do a break check here. Let me check that.
Hitting me when I'm on you, evil.
Yeah, you can just do this.
You.
Look. Just here. Now that's what I call research. See? So yeah, in short, that is how you can take totally advantage of this blind spot in the most efficient way that we have so far found. Of course, if you are creative and you have found a new way, good shit. But that's what I came up with so far. Like, you could just run in there, stand underneath it, bounce really easily. Like, if you really want to see more about this blind spot, just check the link in the description. I highly recommend it.